Hi there, my name is Mikko Hyppönen. I'm the Chief Research Officer for F-Secure Corporation, and this here is Sullivan. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing well.
Good, good. We have this community. That's a web forum on our website at community.fsecure.com. And in the community, we asked the readers or people like you to ask us questions about online banking security. And we got a bunch of questions. What did we get, Sean?
More questions about banking trojans, passwords, ATM machines, and so on. And then the first one we can take a look at is how do I remember strong passwords?
Passwords. And that's a great question because we all use passwords all the time. In fact, one of the problems we have with password advice is that many of the advices you might have read or have seen somewhere were written a long time ago. And like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, typical password advices were that always pick a very long password with special characters and numbers and never write them down and never reuse the password. But back then, people only had to remember 5, 6, or 7 passwords. Now we have to remember dozens or even more than 100. So how do you do it?
Well, I don't alone. It's funny you mentioned 15 years ago in the advice because that's even 20 years ago that the big innovation was people would have their own passwords as opposed to passwords shared among 10 people within an IT staff on a rotating list. These days we need to go something beyond that, and I use a password manager to just keep track of strong passwords because the attackers going after your accounts have processing power that you cannot remember what should be a strong password.
And password managers take away the pain. You only have to remember the password for the password manager, which you have on your computer, on your tablet, on your phone, and then the password manager creates unique, strong passwords for every single service and automatically helps you log in. So you don't have to remember the passwords anymore. So that's really helpful.
So yeah, I've narrowed it down to 4 or 5 accounts that I access all the time, and that I have some sort of memory technique to remember those that I use every day. For accounts that I infrequently visit once a month, every 6 months, I cannot log into some of my own bank accounts without the password manager's help because the password is 36 characters long, numbers and symbols.
And one other crucial thing here, even if you don't use a password manager, you really should think about like what's important and what's not important. And you really should use real, unique, strong passwords in the important services. But then when you have tons of these different services where you have to register, but you don't really care about them much, like some random newspaper you have to register in order to read it.
And a TV guide listings.
Exactly. Or some forum you just read, you never post anything. On those systems, it doesn't really matter, even if you have a weak password, because even if somebody steals it, they're not going to get much anything at all. So it's not a sin to recycle the same password or use a weak password on those services that you don't actually care about. And then make sure you have good, strong, unique passwords on the services that actually matter.
Now some actual advice is passphrases.
Oh yeah.
What do you think of those?
Passphrases are much easier to remember than passwords, especially when you have to have special characters and numbers and uppercase and lowercase. Make a phrase with spaces and punctuation. You will remember it.
I like to use random letters and numbers, but I like to cycle through random letters and numbers until I see something I can make a mnemonic out of.
Right.
So 7, 9, multiplication and so on, or you just add, subtract, something that is rather random, but I'll keep flipping through until I'll see something that in my brain triggers a mnemonic that I can then remember that random password.
And one thing which is also good to mention is that many people think about their webmail, let's say Gmail or Hotmail or Outlook.com account, that it's not that important, it's just mostly spam and some registration emails. But actually these systems are, in many cases, become single points of failure. Because if you keep registering to different services using that webmail as your email address, if somebody gains access to the webmail account, they can go to Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else and click on I forgot my password button, and the service will send a new password to the webmail system.
So reset the password so that no matter how strong your password is, if you have too many accounts dependent on each other for reset my password, your password's no good. So then you need to separate or choose a service that is the single critical point if you've got like two-factor authentication. So if you're a Gmail user, and that tends to be the one that you register, the email address that you register services with, make that one more secure with the two-factor authentication, where it has to send you a text message with the password.
Such as Gmail, which
Yeah.
is excellent.
Yeah.
Free service where Gmail will send you a registration code over text message every time you log in, which is very secure.
All right.
So basically that's it. Most of the bad password advice you see is bad because it's old. Use password managers and think about which services are important and which aren't. Thank you.